Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Falika Ahastin Bryant. I'm the director of the Native American Educational and Cultural Center at Purdue University. We are pleased to feature RaeLynn Butler as part of our NAECC Throwback Thursday chats. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into this right away, and we can hear all the wonderful things RaeLynn's doing. So I'll go ahead and let RaeLynn introduce herself.
Hi, RaeLynn Butler, Jaho Jifkados, Malegida, Wakogi, Madowa, Pecan, Tallahassee. My name is RaeLynn Butler, and I'm from the Muscogee Creek Nation, and I'm from Peach Ground, Ceremonial Ground, and I'm Raccoon Clan.
Okay, thank you, RaeLynn. To begin with, we're having these particular conversations with some of our Purdue alums just to see where they're at in the whole world and what they're doing. So with that in mind, please share your pathway to Purdue with us.
Thank you, Falika. I graduated from Purdue in 2012, August of 2012, and so it's been about 8 years since I have been out on my own since graduate school. And my pathway, though, is that I attended Haskell Indian Nations University, and I had received, that's a tribal college in Lawrence, Kansas, and I had received an Associate of Science degree in Natural Science and a Bachelor of Science degree in Environmental Science from Haskell. And through attending the university there, got to meet folks from Purdue University who were recruiting and looking for students who were interested in the STEM field, science, technology, engineering, and math, to pursue graduate school. And so I really enjoyed science and liked plants and thought that it might be a good opportunity to go to Purdue with the funding that would be available through the Sloan program. And so I did a summer internship through the summer research opportunity program, which helped me get research experience and internships and then helps with your applications to apply to graduate school.
Okay, thank you so much. And then also, what was your favorite memory at Purdue?
Well, when I think about my time at Purdue, I would say that one of my favorite memories, or I have a few, I would say one of them is being a part of the Sloan Indigenous Graduate Partnership. I think that was a big part of my life as a student, and a big reason why I went to Purdue University. So I'd say that that's probably one of my favorite memories. I think hosting the Region ACES conference for our chapter, Region 6, I believe, that was a great experience, an opportunity to really prove that our student group was fully capable and that we were ready and anxious to be active in our region. So I think that's also a memory that stands out. And then also I had got 2 farm cats while I was in Indiana. So I still have those cats. They'll be 8 years old this year. And so they're brother and sister. So, but I always, think of them as, I wonder if they miss Indiana being from there. But so yeah, those are some of the good memories I have of being at Purdue.
I always remember your stories of how you acquired the cats. I don't know if you want to spend like a minute talking about acquired the cats, or how you picked them up.
Well, we met at a Walmart parking lot in the middle of the night. It was late at night and they flashed their lights, and we went over to the car, and we had not met each other. We had just heard through mutual contacts that they had cats, some kittens. So it was pretty fun that there were 7 in a box, and we got to pick which ones we wanted. Had intended to only pick one, but ended up with a brother and sister, and then also another friend and Sloan alum, Patrick Freeland, took another cat. So we ended up leaving Walmart with 3 cats that day, and all 3 are still going strong. And so it's pretty neat that we were able to do that.
I always find that story amusing, and the fact that you would go late at night after you told me the next day, said, you all did what at parking lot at Walmart and flashing your lights. That was a hilarious story. But one thing that you did mention regarding in your reflection was talking about ACES. So if you want to talk about your role with ACES while you were here.
Sure. I was involved with ACES. I served as a treasurer, I believe, one term during the time I was there. But we had a very active ACES association, and we had some strong female leaders at the time when I was there. So we were really helping to push and get things done. I think we've had chapter of the year, advisor of the year. We really made a strong presence in attending the annual meetings and the regional meetings and leadership conferences. So it was a big part of our, I guess, our part of our meetings, our extracurricular activities and sponsorship for those kind of programs.
And if we would go a step further and talking about attending the National ACES Conference, because you also did some presentations there.
Yes, it was pretty exciting. I believe it was the meeting up in the Twin Cities that we had with, and I remember, it was great because Purdue was bringing so many students to attend this meeting, and they were all graduate level, which at the time, I haven't been to a meeting since then, but it seemed like at that time there wasn't very many graduate students within the organization. So it was great that we were showing up with our polo shirts and name tags to, look professional and to do some presentations. And so at that meeting, it was, I actually had got first place on an oral presentation for the graduate work that I had been working on. So it was really exciting. And I think it was $1,000 check, which I had not been expecting at all. So that was pretty exciting. But, we also had NASA and SACNAS. So when I first started at Purdue, we had heard that there used to be a Native American Student Association in the past, but that it had been inactive. And so we revived the NASA group and found a sponsor, a faculty sponsor, and then started an organization. And I was the first chairperson of that group when we started that program. So does that still exist?
It's in the process of being revived. So yes, we hope to get that up and started again. But we did have, like you were saying, a strong leadership at that point, and it just comes ebbs and flows. So right now we have some students that are trying to get things revived. So I'm really happy that they're interested in doing that. I forgot to mention about your, while you were here at Purdue, what did you study, if you want to talk about your research area?
Oh, sure. Yes. I was in the Department of Botany and Plant Pathology in the School of Agriculture. My primary research was on sustainable agriculture and organic weed management and vegetable cropping systems. So worked on several projects within Dr. Kevin Gibson's lab. So we had worked with tomatoes mainly, but also with peppers, different types of peppers, and did some greenhouse studies and field studies to help with the research component. So got a lot of experience working at Miggs Research Farm, which is a little bit outside of West Lafayette, and then in the greenhouses there at Purdue. So I was there for about 3 years doing that type of research.
Okay, great. And let me see. We talked about your experiences being in student organizations. What was your best Boilermaker fan experience?
Oh, I think one of the first experience to me was to actually see Purdue on TV. To go to a school that had sports that were on TV was a big deal. I remember thinking, wow, I can, at high school, you didn't see that. In high school, you didn't have that. So I remember thinking, like, I'm at a huge university, to have that. Also, I think through ACES, we hosted a tailgate party. So it was Michigan State University at Purdue, and we invited some ACES students from MSU to come down and tailgate with us and then go to the game together. And so there were a few students that did, and we got to sit in the student section, and we ate before we went. I think we had Indian tacos, and it was great to actually, have this community within the big community at the game. So, and the MSU students sit with us, which was pretty risky for them to be on the Purdue side, but we that was very, very cool experience to see that. Have that happen, to do that kind of tailgating with other Native students from other schools in Big Ten.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I remember that. You've talked about your experiences working at Haskell, attending school at Haskell. What would you say, what was beneficial about coming from a tribal college like Haskell and bringing that same type of energy to Purdue?
I think coming from a tribal college, which was 100% Native American, and then going to Purdue, 40,000 plus students, and then I would say very low diversity. It was tough. It was a big environmental difference, to be there. But I think the strengths that you bring as a tribal college student are that you have that tribal perspective and knowledge and history. So, which is on top of the history you would have already known from history books. But I feel that you have an edge as a Native student to kind of, coming from there, you kind of retaught history, what actually happened to tribes, what happened to this land, who used to live here, which kind of gets glossed over in most K through 12 systems. So I feel the tribal college really emphasize what that accurate and true history is of the United States. So I think you come in as, really knowing your place and where you're coming from in terms of cultural background and knowledge. But then, so I think that, but at the same time, some of the parts that were harder for me to adjust was just letting the environment kind of play or take over instead of really focusing on why I was there. So an example is that in the College of Agriculture, when I had studied environmental science, and so there were some courses I needed to take to better guide me towards botany. So I did get to take an undergraduate class to help me get caught up and ready for graduate studies. And one of those, I was the only girl in the whole class. And so, and only person of color. So I could spend times just looking around the class feeling intimidated and not really paying attention to what the professor was saying. And so it took me a semester to try to adjust and try to think to myself, to block out the environment and to, realize that I'm here for a purpose and a reason. And, I know just as much as these Indiana farm boys did, or I would tell myself. So I think that there were situations where there was a little uncomfortable, but, you push through them and, end up building friendships and relationships around campus to help you, get through some of those tough times.
Okay, so the next question I have for you, RaeLynn, is if you could talk about your experience, how your Purdue education prepared you for your job.
That's a good question. Currently, I serve as a manager of the Historic and Cultural Preservation Department for the Muscogee Creek Nation. We have 18 staff members, and we work on a variety of different things for the tribe. So we do the library and archives. So we have over 4,000 volumes of reference materials relating to the history of our tribe, but we also can assist with genealogy. We have all the first enrollment documents that we use for citizenship determinations in the tribe. We have a cemetery cleanup program that helps families get fencing or help them clean up abandoned cemeteries. We also document anything of cultural significance and importance to the tribe and put it in a database so that we know where these places are located for protection purposes. so that pipelines companies or rail companies or road companies or anyone doing construction within our reservation or in our homelands, that they're not going to impact places like cemeteries or ceremonial grounds or churches or things like that. So we do also archaeology within our department, and we do cultural outreach and education. So we have quite a bit of components and different things going on. But I feel that my education from Purdue helped me become a good project manager and also a better writer, because I feel that writing is something you will always have to strive to become good at and better. And so I think that that's something, those are values that I learned from Purdue that helped me to do and pursue anything in a professional sense. But overall, I feel that Purdue helped me become more professional by attending those meetings, conferences, and presenting your research. I feel that those all help me become more confident in myself and be a better communicator and speaker, even though I sometimes still struggle with that. I feel that also being shy and kind of culturally quiet, that Purdue kind of made me break out of that shell to the level that you're expected to, achieve and in your field of study. So I think that those were all great things. And critical thinking is important, but really I feel like I'm a good researcher. If you need to find something, I have learned all the great tools of how to track it down or find it, and to find, primary sources of information. And so those are all things that I think are really great that I learned from attending Purdue University.
Okay, great. And then as we're winding down, what type of advice would you give to our current students, whether they be graduate students or undergraduate students?
I think that it's important, especially for those students that are in the Sloan program, that you're open and honest with your Sloan mentors, that you reach out to them. If you have any kind of issues, whether it's with your research or your advisor or your department, that they can really help navigate solutions for you to help you. But they don't know if you don't tell them. So even though some conversations may be hard, or it could just be social, differences, nothing too personal, but I think those are all, they're there for that, to help you and to guide you, to encourage you. So I would say that even though it may seem scary and there's a lot of new people you're working with, that, just to be open and honest with your Sloan mentors. I think one of the things I experienced at Purdue was, you might be the first Native American person that many people have met. And I feel that that's, just try to be patient with people. I think as Native people, we have all had to deal with, at some point in our life, dealing with racism, or people who are just maybe not educated or know enough about Native American tribes or people. But I think it was pretty common at that time for people to say, I didn't even know there were tribes still here, or I didn't know how Indiana got its name. Whereas today, I think we're a little bit more aware, people are doing land acknowledgements and paying respect to the tribes who lived on those lands. So hopefully we have more education in place to help people. But in general, just people from Indiana tend to not know enough about Native American history. So if you do encounter people like that, just to try to be patient and do your best to send them to the Cultural Center. FAB can help answer those questions.
Oh, that's funny. But I think you're being very modest in terms of your time here at Purdue, because I would count you as one of our most influential women leaders that came through the doors. The way you were able to rally students together and get them motivated to do the work, and even just your sense of leadership that you demonstrated. So I really do appreciate all the guidance and your leadership that you had while you were here. And I'll be quite honest, whenever I see a raccoon, I always
or tomato.
or tomato, raccoon, or coming from the raccoon clan. And for those of you that know tomatoes, RaeLynn did mention that she studied about tomatoes. So for, I would say maybe 2 summers, we just had an influx of tomatoes that were coming in. She was harvesting them, bringing them into their center. And I know that she would give them to us. So for a while there, everybody was having fresh tomatoes. And I'm not sure if we had a cooking contest. I think Marie might have won it because she made a salsa, and she was telling us all the different things that she was making with the tomatoes. But yeah, those type of memories probably live on. Do you still like tomatoes? And at one point you said no more tomatoes.
You know, I haven't actually grown a tomato plant since I left, but I sure grew a heck ton of tomatoes while I was in Indiana, and I can still smell them sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, they're I still really enjoy. They just tasted so good, fresh from the farm. But you know, we ended up donating about 4,000 pounds, you know, through the research project, and it went to food finders, which help donate food to pantries and to folks to make all kinds of foods for less fortunate. So it was really great that we were able to donate those foods for that cause. But yeah, I still hope that I will have a nice garden soon. But yeah, not too much on tomatoes lately. I was going to mention too, you know, the NAECC or the center, you know, was a huge deal in terms of community support and even educational support, professional support. So that's another thing I would encourage students, even if you're not involved in Sloan and just a Native student or any student who's looking to connect on a more personal level, the center is a great place to get free snacks and also use resources. You can print papers and do some studying there. And so I think that, you know, attending the center events and things at times can be overwhelming when you have so much academic work, but it was definitely an important part for me to succeed there, because I needed that community to just, you know, for support. I think I just needed familiar faces and needed to know that, hey, there's other students here, you know, or there's people who are here to help you, and always very friendly. So yeah, I'd hope more students come and use the center for all the work that you guys do and the programs you put on.
I was remembering one summer, RaeLynn was on campus, and there was a new drink that was being introduced through Starbucks. And so RaeLynn and I went caravanning to all the Starbucks in West Lafayette to get some new, you had to go and get the free drink. And I think it was caffeinated. So by the time we came back, we were kind of like just very high caffeinated, because we had them all available, but we were talking about that the other day. So that was quite amusing. I those memories very fondly. But yeah, so that kind of concludes our interview. And I really appreciate you making the time and joining us for this particular new series that we're starting. We do have some additional alums that are lined up to attend. I think our next one, we do have Mike King, who is going to be joining us in about 2 more weeks. So we'll be able to feature him in his interview, and we'll have a chance to talk with him and see what he's doing. So with that, again, I thank RaeLynn for joining us. And if you have any questions, feel free to email them to us, or you can find us on social media. What we'll do is we'll post this on our social media sites as well as our YouTube page, so that way you'll have a chance to come back and visit it. But thanks again, RaeLynn, for all your work and for all the contributions you made to the center. And we're really proud to see you out there working hard in your community. So it always warms our heart to see some of our Purdue alums that are working back in their tribal communities.
I appreciate the opportunity and thank you, and boiler up.